Okay, now we want to go with you through the installation process of our Xbull fenders. Tom, can you hand me one as a sample? So this, for example, is the front one. We already X-lined it. It comes color matching to the plastic color of the bumpers. So in our case, we already X-lined that, so that's slightly different to what you receive. So that has a nice finish inside and outside. It's a 3D mold, so it's not a cheap thermoform piece. It's actually a laminated piece. It's a composite piece with some nicely inserted stainless steel threaded studs inside. So we will use a couple of the factory mounting points later to screw that on. And we have also incorporated the extension. You can see here, this is extending later under the van. We will take out this plate, we will cut it back, allowing for a larger cutout that you have more options for your tire sizes. In the rear, we will even go a little further. We will cut in the front and the back. That comes in a second, also allowing you larger tires. What exactly fits on is actually also a little bit depending on the offset of your rim. It's also depending a little bit on the height of the rim, and also if you drive spacers or not. For example, with an agile big brake kit with an incorporated spacer, that works very nicely as well. Maybe you also need to cut some trim of the wheel wells, of the wheel liners. We have removed the wheel liners already. You all know how to do that, so that's the start for the process. Remove everything, and now our next step is to remove this little metal piece and later cut it back. So you all know we need to remove this little piece for some other products as well. This underbody protection part, but this screw needs to be loosened, otherwise you cannot get it out. We need that part, so don't throw it away. We will cut it shorter, but you don't need to worry too much about the lower part. We are working later with the top part. So that has been removed. That gives us a larger space later, and we will also now cut away here a little bit to allow for larger tires. Okay, so we finished cutting the metal to allow the wider opening. We also already cut the part to shape, which goes back on. We need that because the clips from the trim piece go into that, and later we need also the holes to screw the fender on, so that can go away. This one later will mount it back on. We are not doing this right now because all of the edges need a nice rust protection. We deliver a little bit of zinc for it. That is a little time consuming, obviously, because it cures not so fast, but you can choose whatever you like. We will do the zinc procedure, but we want to cut front, back, everything, and then go in one step to do all the rust protection parts. Okay, so we also prepared the rear for our cutout and for the widening of the wheel arch, so we marked everything. It's a very visual thing, to be honest. We are following a little bit the lines here and cut it. I prefer the air saw. You can do it with a cutting wheel. Air saw, in my opinion, is also a nice tool to get through that. We already did a little test fit. That's always very good. We are using these 4 holes later and screw from the inside into our molded piece, and we did that little test already. That helps also to make sure that this one is cut away far enough. So if you have a little angle, that's all right. Sometimes you may need to widen that up a little bit, that the plastic piece is not bent and we have the maximum opening we need to fit the fender. To keep the body in the same way protected like Mercedes has done it, I make sure that everything from both sides is nicely covered. And I also do the same thing on the little piece we pre-cut for the reinstallation. So next day, all our nice zinc lines have been dried out overnight. I reinstalled the little cut and prepared bracket. We also trimmed the front line so the fender can really nicely fit in. The next step is we want to use some factory holes, that is no question, but unfortunately the 3 holes we want to add. They are here in this area. And to make it very easy to mark it, there's little studs with a sharp edge on the front, and they fit exactly into these threads. And this is helping us to mark the location. So what we do is we will have a second person helping me to hold it in position. We are marking it, so we are really making sure it's sitting nice and tight in the front and in the back. And then you give it a little bit of a dang in the 3 locations, and that actually marks the dots where we need to drill out. Okay, so we decided to not reinstall our mud flaps, otherwise there would be another little cut you need to do to shorten the mud flap, because we have a tire combination where that would be still in our way, so we decided to don't install them back. Here you leave all the holes still usable, and you mark your cut line next to the main hole. This pen is not the best, but I actually don't need it. I just want to present it here, we can just go always next to the, and then we go straight down and take off this plastic part. That also allows more space for the fender later. So that is our cutting line, always next to the holes. So for the next step, talking about the front fenders, we only need a few of our hardware things. We lined it up here a little bit. The silver ones with the washer are actually holding the fender from the inside of the fender. We are screwing into our little brass fitting, what is already incorporated in the little fender. So that is what we need definitely from the inside. We are screwing into the fender. And that washer actually is on the outside. It's a little fiddly to get them on. That gives another layer of, it's a soft one, and that would give another layer of water protection. If you can't get it through, it's not the end of the world, but that is meant to be on the 3 holes you drilled, and basically to give an additional seal. These long and short one go into the lower part under the door. There is this half moon type hole, what we know from the removal of the metal part, so that gets a little bit of an extra length, and also the washer is helping to spread a little bit over the large opening, and the same we do with the short one on the rear. So that's basically what we need there. Okay, so everything what we did with rust protection is done and dry, but we still want to give it an extra layer of protection. So what I'm doing is the whole area, we basically fill that up. You can also use whatever material you prefer, but we deliver a wood product. And what I'm doing basically is I apply it, and then I take a little piece of wood, popsicle stick or whatever you might have, and then we basically apply. Same here in the back, going a little bit around our cut line here, filling holes that no water can actually go in the area. And then I take a little, I have this little tool here, but you can also use a popsicle stick. And I only want to make sure that this is nicely spread and we have no pockets open. And then you can leave it there to dry and cure. No. So, und jetzt musst du dich für eine entscheiden. We are now using the hardware from the inside, and the inserts, the threaded inserts, are already in the fender. And now we are trying to start all of them. Don't make them too tight in the first step. Try to get all the screws in the first step. And then we can nicely align everything and tighten up. To here, right now, you need to be a little careful because we just sealed everything. But you can take another 2 of the silver ones without the rubber and then try to fix it here to the factory holes on that side. Okay, so unfortunately we X-lined our fender, but you can see there's a little dent in it. That's actually the hole. It's lining up with the hole behind with this half moon type hole. So this is marked. So if you don't X-line, you can actually really nicely see a little hole, a little mark where you need to drill your hole to fix it, because that would be still loose, and when we have both in, it's sitting nice and tight here. So one is actually visible here, the other one is a little harder to find, but when you have the factory color, it's not a problem at all. You see the little hole preparation, and then you can just drill through. Okay, so here's our little mark. You have it most probably nicer than here right now. And I just drill my little pilot hole, can double check one more time. It's aligning with the part behind. And then I can go one bigger. So my largest one here. To align that. There is these half moon type hole, what you have from the factory there. I use the long one with the washer going through, and then I can tighten that up with the screw. Okay, so then we use the black screw, and that is actually tightening up. And what I always recommend is when you look at your door, we want to push it a little forward, that the gap remains enough for the opening of the door. So finding the second hole, which is actually lining up with a bracket here, so we can use the space behind. As we said, there's a little mark in the front and in the rear. The front one sits exactly behind this little half moon shaped one. The short rubber with the insert is going to the front. That squeezes nicely in and widens up when you tighten the screw. The longer one is required on the rear side because you have a little bit of a double material here, and the single short one wouldn't work, so the long one goes to the rear. I personally also used a black rivet at one point because sometimes the silver is maybe not as nice. I would paint it a little later in black, but in my opinion there is nothing wrong to also use a large head rivet and go through. In the front you just need to relocate the hole a little bit, so both is possible, whatever you feel comfortable with. The kit comes with the washer and these little rubber inserts, and it works totally fine. I think 2 black rivets would do the same job as well. So there are dimensions actually in the instructions, but we also have a template for you. We can send you over and you can cut it out. That helps you to be precise with the cutout. So just put it over. That's a trim piece of the driver's side. We align it a little bit, and then we can just mark for our cut. Ours is now really rough. So what we did is we used the template, we cut this back, put it back in position. Now we proceed the same in the front, and then we can install the fender over it. So we also prepared the front part of it, used the template, cut it off, and all of the rest is well known. Align it again and bring it back in position. And now we are good, have enough space for our fender. These 4 holes, the factory holes, will be reused in these inserts. And then you can also apply an additional layer of adhesive here. Just be a little careful that it doesn't squeeze out. That gives an additional bonding here, so clean that with alcohol. That gives an additional bonding because there's no screw on the top. So we have little marks here and also on the other side. This is basically where we want to apply some additional adhesive. It's over here. I wouldn't do all the way around, but here in between, here is the last screw point, but here in between I would apply some adhesive. And I personally enjoy going a little further down. It squeezes up anyways, and I don't want that we have a mess on the other side. So I actually really apply on the inner bringing it here up in position. Just a little hint, they do have the German word hinten links, rear left, and vorne rechts, front right. You only need to look on the L and the R, because L left links and R right rechts is the same. So don't mix it up, otherwise the screw holes will not align. And leave them loose a little bit, so just to get the start on all four and then tighten them up. That makes it much, much easier then. So while Tom is still going around and getting the screws nicely done, we have a little bit of a hot mess here. Try to remove that very quick before it comes. While it's not cured, it's really easy to remove. You just need to be fairly quick at the beginning. Like acetone might be a little too harsh on it. I used alcohol. That's totally enough to get the wet part wiped off. So the last step actually is really to tap the bottom part. There's actually a little hole drilled in the front and in the back. You just take that over, widen it up, and then use again the rubber mounts and the screw to fix it. Again, you could also use a black rivet and put it in. Don't forget rust protection, and that safely holds the lower part in as well. So I used again the zinc for the rust protection. You can use whatever you have in the shop, and like most, I pushed the rubber part in. There's a little thread, same concept like in the front. While you tighten up the screw, it gets bigger on the rear side and tightens it up. So the last two little bolts are wrapping up the installation. Really nice and easy install. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Maybe also this video can help a little bit if there is one uncertain thing in the instructions. You can see now how small the tires look, so it's actually really time to also install our KW suspension, give it a little bit of a lift, and also come out with a larger tire a little bit. But you can really nicely see front and back how much more room you now have available for a larger tire. And I really like the fit, how it aligns with the overall look and feel of the Sprinter. So let us know if you have any questions. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. See you next time.